It is the morning of April 21st, 1526, on a flat, dusty plain, 80 kilometers north of Delhi. Marching across this expanse is the army of Ibrahim Lodi, the Sultan of Delhi, commanding a force estimated at up to 100,000 men. Anchoring that massive line are roughly 1,000 war elephants. In South Asian warfare, these animals are bred and heavily armored to act as living battering rams, designed specifically to shatter infantry formations and terrify opposing cavalry. Waiting for them is Zahir-ud-Din Mohammad Babur, a Central Asian prince who has already lost his ancestral homeland twice. After weeks marching through the winter snows of the Hindu Kush, his exhausted army numbers just 12,000 men. In any conventional medieval battle, this extreme numerical mismatch has only one outcome. The sheer physical mass of Lodi's infantry and elephants should swallow Babur's forces entirely. But Babur brought 24 pieces of early field artillery. Northern India has never faced cannons on a battlefield, presenting a lethal, untested question. How exactly does a tiny force with a handful of guns systematically dismantle a giant? Babur knows that if he simply sets his cannons out in the open, Lodi's elephants will trample them in minutes. To survive the initial charge, he engineers a specific defensive system known as the araba. This diagram illustrates his strategy. Babur aligns 700 baggage carts across his entire front line, lashing them securely together with heavy ropes and iron chains to form a continuous, artificial wall. Behind this solid barrier, he positions his artillery and matchlock men, soldiers armed with early firearms. The physical wall shields his gunners from direct cavalry strikes and absorbs the momentum of an elephant charge. Because the araba covers so much of the field, Lodi's immensely wide army cannot simply sweep across the plain. As they advance, the terrain and the cart wall force their massive ranks to compress inward, funneling into a narrow, highly restricted channel. By dictating the geometry of the battlefield, Babur turns Lodi's overwhelming size into a severe liability, packing tens of thousands of men so tightly together they can barely swing their weapons. As Lodi's vanguard pushes deep into this compressed zone, Babur's Ottoman and Persian gunners open fire at point-blank range. The iron projectiles tear through the dense formations, but the primary devastation is psychological. The deafening concussions and thick sulfurous smoke are entirely alien to the Indian forces. The war elephants, which have never encountered gunpowder, panic at the noise and fire. They refuse to advance, instead turning violently backward and crushing hundreds of Lodi's own infantrymen in their desperation to escape. With the center descending into chaos, Babur initiates the final phase of his system, the Tulughma. He detaches his highly mobile cavalry units from the main line, breaking them into smaller independent subdivisions. Moving with extreme speed, these riders bypass the front line entirely. They sweep wide around the battlefield, encircling the disorganized rear of Lodi's army and cutting off any route of retreat. This synchronized machine of artillery terror in the front and rapid cavalry encirclement in the back traps 100,000 men in a lethal, inescapable pocket. The traditional South Asian reliance on sheer mass and war elephants is systematically dismantled. The fighting lasts barely half a day. By early afternoon, the massive Sultanate army is completely routed, and Ibrahim Lodi lies dead among his troops. We know the precise tactical mechanics of this morning because Babur meticulously recorded them. He composed a remarkably honest personal diary known as the Baburnama, giving us a rare, direct view into a commander's mind. The outcome at Panipat permanently forces South Asia into the gunpowder age. The centuries-old dominance of the slow-moving infantry line is over, replaced by the lethal efficiency of field artillery. Advancing rapidly to claim his prize, Babur seizes the vast treasury of Delhi. Among the riches handed over by Lodi's surviving family is the massive, legendary Koh-i-Noor diamond. By mathematically deconstructing an army 10 times his size, this wandering prince ends the Lodi dynasty and establishes the Mughal Empire, the civilization that would eventually command a quarter of the world's wealth and build the Taj Mahal.